All right. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late. It was a really big day at the Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference. I can't wait to show you my sketch notes and exercise pages from today's classes, from today's talks. And I got distracted because the amazing after show backstage pass was happening, and it was a really fascinating conversation. So it took me a second to get over here. But for all of you that are tuning in who missed some classes today, or maybe you couldn't make it to the Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference this year, I'm not going to give away all of the secrets of the conference, obviously, and don't have video recordings of all of the amazing classes. You'll have to sign up for Wild Wonder to get those as a recorded version. For those of you who are participating and bought tickets, but maybe you missed a couple classes, like maybe you missed Timothy's class or Beth Ann's class, I'll go through my sketch notes, and I also have quotes from all of the teachers that I'm going to share right now. And hopefully I have enough brain cells firing after a really long day of doing all of the classes again. Did I cross them all off? I still didn't cross off the keynote and the backstage pass, but so far, as you can see, I haven't missed a single session during the whole event. Type into the chat if you had a favorite quote from today. I would love to share some quotes from other people had. So I'll go back to the beginning of the day with Jack's poem. Jack had his poem this morning, and he talked a lot about some of the stuff that Mike Daikubara had mentioned the day before. He talked about the forgetfulness curve, and his challenge was to add some stuff to a page, tweak it, reflect on it, highlight it, and add feeling. So the idea of this sort of metacognitive idea of going back over your pages, that's something that I do with my index, but Jack mentioned that this morning. He also mentioned one of my favorite terms that I think should be in every nature journaler's vocabulary, this concept of marginalia. It's what you put in the margins. Here's my drawing of Akshay, not the best drawing of Akshay, and Akshay's presentation was so engaging and so visually engaging that I almost found it hard to sketch note as much as I usually do. So I started here, and it was just an incredible presentation, super fun, amazing narrative. But he did have activities for us. So it was definitely designed in a way where you couldn't just take that class and not do anything. And here are some more. This is one of the ones that inspired my new tattoo. He showed how to use Boxy Critter for birds, and he included several printouts. So I was really glad that I read about his class description this morning. I ran out to a print store here in Quito, and I got his things printed, so I was able to glue some of those in. I love being able to glue stuff into my nature journal. That's actually something that I think I kind of got from Amaya. Is she was one of the first people I saw that was really gluing tons of stuff into her nature journal, and that just seemed crazy to me. And now I do it all the time. You can see I glued in some of his other templates. Another kind of messed up drawing of Akshay, but at least I tried. His hat is not right, and it was a little bit hard to get his facial hair. And I loved how his facial hair can be graphed to show how much he's been working. I thought that was really funny. And then a couple of really important points. So here I made this really big, the visual hierarchy showing you this is important, is he used this word probably more than any other word in his whole presentation. And Jack, or actually I think Sydney, brought it up tonight in the backstage pass, but Akshay mentioned this word more times than he mentioned the term boxy critters. So I think that's really important. And this idea that you're limiting information. When you use the boxy critter approach to try to capture the colors of an animal, you're limiting information to what you've decided on is essential for that moment. A lot of people were asking for printouts and copies of his stencils, but I think the important thing here is not to copy his boxy critters per se, but to copy the thinking that led to them. And Akshay shared about the process of how he came up with that idea. And I think that is the kind of thinking that we need to copy. It's not that we need to just copy all of his stencils and use them whenever we journal. I tried to write that in another way, and here I wrote, don't just use Akshay's stencils, use his thinking process. So I think that's all in on Akshay's with that. An amazing presentation. That was definitely worth, if you think about the cost of the ticket and you think about how much time Akshay probably spent making that presentation and the amount of impact and even educational and entertainment value it has, that's worth the price of admission for Wild Wonder, in my opinion. Here was another amazing class with Kristen Muser, and I've been wanting to take a class with her for a long time. She's been teaching nature journaling for a long time, and she had us print out these really cool models. I glued mine onto my paper now, but it's a model. You can do this with birds too, and you can fold it and you can draw from it and practice really challenging things of foreshortening with butterfly. So that was a really great class. I took a micro nap between the end of that class and Pencil Miles and Chill. This is the first time I did Pencil Miles and Chill, and I just went around to a couple different rooms. I went to the sketchnoting and comics room, which was really interesting, and I went to the bugs room. Then guess what we were talking about in this class? Yes, we were talking about color, and this class was amazing. You definitely needed to be fully awake for this class. And I've done a fair amount of practice with color. I've taken, full semester long color theory classes. And even with that background, this was a challenging, sort of conceptually challenging class, and is worth a second and third look. Like, this is one of the ones that, even though I was there for the class, I would go back and take this class again. This is, like, in my opinion, master class level watercolor class. So, like, this is the kind of thing that, this person, Catherine Hamilton, has put so much time and thought into watercolor that she is very masterful in what she does, very thoughtful about it, and she was very well organized in her presentation. So I highly recommend taking this class, doing the exercise and taking it multiple times, because she is a very advanced colorist, and I think that there's a lot of potential to learn from it. Quotes. Oh man, I forgot to quote any of Akshay's funny quotes. Okay, sorry, going back to Akshay for 1 second. I think the quote from his talk that I'm going to share is, "It all started with zebra butts." And I'll let you interpret that how you want, but you'll have to watch his whole class to see. But I also got a ton of quotes from Catherine Hamilton, and I've been noticing over the course of, I guess it's day 4 now, over the course of doing this for like 10 hours every day, I've developed a little bit of a style of how I capture my instructors, and I didn't have it as clearly down at the beginning. So I think that, with time, you start to get some consistency, and I'm collecting quotes next to the sort of speaker profile drawing of the person. She had some great ones here. She said, watercolor is the most difficult medium, and iridescence is the most difficult subject in nature to paint. I'm sorry you chose this class. So I thought that was funny. And then she also said, you just want to be able to control in the few places where it really matters. You don't have to control it. You just have to understand it. So she talked about control a lot, and I think it's a really important concept to understand with watercolor, and it's quite possibly the reason why people consider watercolor hard, is because there's a lot that you can't control, but there are benefits to not being able to control things. That class was followed immediately by a class with Timothy Joe. And one of the things, I've interviewed Timothy Joe twice on the Nature Journal show. He's been on here before, gone through the lightning round and everything. I got some good quotes from him. And in this case, what I want to point out, and I think I mentioned this briefly yesterday, is it's possible to take a class where someone is using certain materials. You don't have those materials, but sometimes it's even fun just to copy their style and technique with the materials that you have, which is what I tried to do. Instead of just watching or just sketchnoting, I tried to do both. Lots of great stuff in the comments here. I'm going to send some love. If you're not typing in the live chat, check it out over on the side or on this side. I think it's on this side. And you can see people chatting live. You can post questions, stuff like that. That's a great quote. Eli took her class when it was in person. That's awesome. I did not get to take her class in person. That's definitely one of the differences with the in-person is there's multiple classes happening at the same time. Prioritizing curiosity. That's a good one. All right, cool. Thanks everybody for sharing your thoughts there in the live chat. And I'm just going to keep going away. Let's see. Some of my favorite takeaways from Timothy Joe's class was he talked a lot about brush wetness with gouache when you're coming through with your secondary layers. So I think, taking this class with him with regular gouache and then taking the class with Bill Singleton would be pretty good if you're trying to learn about gouache. Getting the perspective from both of them would be pretty complimentary. I would say take those two classes with them and then go back to last year's Wild Wonder and take the one with Liz Clayton Fuller on gouache, and you'd have three. Sometimes it's really fun to synthesize teachings from different teachers and develop your learning and style that way. And then this really, really fun class with Beth Ann. I think this was, I wish I hadn't colored in her hair. I started using a different drawing tool and was experimenting more, just playing around with the drawing and the mark making, which was the whole point of her class. She started off with this quote saying, "Drawing is just a line going for a walk." And I tried to just get really free and experimental. I would definitely say, oh no, we're getting spammed here. Okay, interesting. That's new. So this was a really good class just to practice a lot of drawing, and I'm really grateful for that. It looks like Deborah showed something that she learned in that class. Thanks for sharing. That was a really great concept. And I definitely got a lot of pencil miles in that class, and I think that was Beth Ann's goal, and it worked really well. So if you just need to get a bunch of practice making marks on the page and sort of warming up, then Beth Ann's class today was perfect. She put a lot of thought into it and really designed it in a way that would inspire people and get people to actually draw and bring down the fear level. I want to point out here some of my metacognitive stuff, but I had I made a note here to remind myself to buy. She mentioned drawing on apples to get better at some of these techniques. So I was writing down a note to buy apples, and then I remembered I remembered that I had a papaya here. So I decided that I'll just start drawing on, and this was after I tattooed a boxy critter on my arm. But I decided that I can practice hatching techniques on this papaya and other like cross contour drawing techniques. So that was a cool idea from Beth Ann. My pen that I was using, so I filled this up with ink last night and it ran out this morning. I forget how many cubic centimeters of ink that is, but the whole thing ran out. Lots of thoughts. I think I took a hot shower during the lunchtime and had a whole bunch of different thoughts going through my mind because from all the stuff that I've seen today, which was really exciting. And then it was time for the keynote, and the keynote was a conversation between John Muir Laws and Wendy Mack. And I want to point out one thing here in my speaker profile is I don't like the way the drawing of her came out that well. I like the hands. But one thing is I tried to capture this sort of smile line she had. And there's a saying that I forget how it goes, but every line that you add to someone's face adds like 10 years of age. So when you're drawing a face, don't add too many lines unless you want that person to look really old. So her drawing didn't come out. Hopefully she's not watching this right now. Well, she would understand because she's all about like creating a safe environment to play with drawing. And she had a ton of good quotes. I'm going to definitely have to watch her videos. She does sketches and creates content for New York Times. And she did these amazing videos during COVID called Draw Together. She mentioned the relationship between active looking and active listening. And a really good quote she had is, "Joy is stronger than an inner critic. So for all of the people who have been watching all the classes today, but and buying lots of supplies, but not drawing, joy is stronger than the inner critic. So I thought that was really interesting. I did a lot of reflection on how I can apply aspects of what she does to what I do. She talked about how influential it was for kids, was really interesting. And then down here, this was a really great part about this conversation that you're not going to want to miss is she asked Jack questions. So a lot of us aren't, maybe haven't seen Jack interviewed too many times. So there might be things that you haven't learned about him and about his history. So he shared some of that, which was really exciting. I tried to draw a picture of him sitting there with kids watching him draw, but it sort of turned into the kids started looking like weird aliens that are shooting lasers at his nature journal. So I thought that was actually really funny and made a little side comic about that because that was fun. And then here's sort of the last page. This is after, a really long day, so I'm getting tired at this point. But more quotes and stuff from Wendy Mack and JML in conversation. And she talked about fun and the importance of fun. And I guess she did an op art piece for the New York Times. And then last but not least was the chat at the end, the backstage pass. Jack was there and Chadwick was there playing guitar. We talked about everyone having something to share, the Nature Journal community being an open source community. Ray Bonto talked about his dinosaur drawings. He also told Jack, when Jack was trying to give him tips on setting up his camera or kind of just getting into Zoom, he told Jack, "I know what I'm doing. Thank you very much." But he said it sounds more sassy when I say it. It sounded kind when he said it. Anyways, that's it for today. I think I'm going to finish. This journal is going to get basically almost completely filled with wild wonder. So I'm filling a lot of pages, which is my main goal. And the nature journaling challenge for today was, I didn't actually do this. I'm going to have to do a quick nature journaling challenge. It's something in nature that made you want to call a friend. And you can interpret that any way you want. I'm just going to draw a really cool bug picture that my friend Hashi sent from Australia, and she sent it to a bunch of bug friends, and I love that idea. This concept for today's challenge was from someone on the Nature Journal Club Facebook page. I can't remember who. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Kate, Eli. It's great to have you and your comedy here. And Deborah, thanks for being here. Susanna, Akshay was here. Matthew, all of you were awesome today, and I had so much fun and learned so much, and hopefully we'll sleep enough to do it all again tomorrow. Bye.